Have you ever wondered where your soul really goes when you sleep? Not in theory, but in truth, in the silence behind your dreams? Because while your body lies still in the night, you are traveling across realms more real than this waking life. And they've never wanted you to know that. Right now, entire systems, scientific, religious, political, are built on the lie that sleep is just rest. But ancient civilizations knew better. They documented maps of consciousness, gateways hidden within your dreams, and the exact paths your soul takes each night. That knowledge was buried, suppressed, for a reason. After years of decoding forbidden texts and studying teachings passed down in whispers, what I've uncovered is something most won't believe until they feel it themselves. You can close this video and return to the illusion of sleep as darkness, or you can keep listening and remember the truth that was written into your soul before you were ever born. Every night as the world around you fades and your eyelids grow heavy, something extraordinary begins. Not in your bedroom, not in your mind, but in the deepest layers of your being. You slip into what most call sleep. But what if that word, that concept, is the greatest misdirection of all? Because you are not just sleeping, you are journeying. Your consciousness is leaving the body, softly, silently, like vapor rising from a candle, and it's entering a realm so vast, so ancient, that your waking mind could never fully comprehend it. But your soul remembers. It always has. Sleep is not a shutdown, it's a return. Every time your body falls into stillness, your spirit begins its ascent, through the veil of forgetfulness, through the layers of illusion, into the same cosmic planes that mystics, prophets, and visionaries have touched since the dawn of time. The same realms written about in secret scrolls, carved into temple walls, and hidden within the forbidden chapters of ancient books. You've been told that dreams are just the brain firing random signals, that they're meaningless, unimportant. But the truth is, that story was never for your benefit. It was designed to make you forget. Because if you remembered, truly remembered, where you go each night, you'd become impossible to control. Your consciousness doesn't sleep, it expands. It detaches from the body and returns to its source, to the astral field where time collapses and all things are seen clearly. You pass through the dream world, yes, but dreams are only the beginning. They're the camouflage of a much deeper reality, one filled with symbols, messages, and memories not from this life, but from lifetimes long forgotten. There are reasons your dreams feel like places you've been before, people you've known, lessons you're repeating, and there's a reason why some dreams feel more real than waking life, because they are. While your body lies still, your astral form floats free, tethered by the silver cord, a thread of light connecting your soul to your physical vessel. You drift into the borderlands between spirit and form. This is not imagination. This is the operating system of your soul, and it activates every night, whether you believe in it or not. There are realms you visit in sleep that defy logic, places with colors you've never seen, sounds that seem to hum through your bones, and beings that communicate without words. Some are guides, some are echoes of your higher self, and some are mirrors, showing you what you refuse to see in the waking world. But why don't you remember it? Because the system is designed that way. Modern life trains you to forget. You're taught to dismiss your intuition, suppress your inner world, and treat your dreams like static noise. From a young age, your imagination is labeled as fantasy. Your visions are called daydreams. And the moment you start trusting the material world more than the unseen, the veil thickens. But some part of you has always known. That's why you're here. That's why these words feel familiar. Because you've had dreams you couldn't explain. Moments where time dissolved. Fleeting glimpses of other lives, other versions of yourself. And deep down you've always sensed that sleep is not an end, but a passage. There's an ancient text few have read, buried by both religious authorities and modern science. A text that maps the journey of the soul through the dream realms. A book so powerful it was hidden for centuries. It describes in detail the terrain you traverse at night, the gates, the guardians, the tests. And perhaps the most startling revelation is this. Sleep is a rehearsal for death, not in a morbid sense, but in a sacred, mystical one, because what you experience each night is the very blueprint of what happens when your physical life ends. The disconnection from form, the navigation of symbols, the facing of inner demons and forgotten truths, and finally, if you are ready, the merging back into source. The Tibetan Book of the Dead spoke of this. The ancient Egyptians designed their entire culture around it. They knew that to master life one must first master the journey beyond it, and that journey begins in sleep. Every dream is a message, every night is a ceremony, and when you start to wake up inside the dream, to become aware that you are dreaming, that is when the real training begins. That is when you start reclaiming your power. Lucid dreaming is not just a party trick, it's not for entertainment, it's an ancient spiritual practice, one that allows you to explore the non-physical realms consciously, to interact with your guides, to heal old traumas, to retrieve forgotten soul fragments, to rewrite timelines and to dissolve fear, the root of all illusion. You were never meant to be unconscious during these journeys. That was conditioned into you, but your natural state is awareness. Not just during the day, but through every layer of reality, and once you begin to peel back the illusions, you realize you've been training for this all along. That recurring dream, it's not just a dream. It's a memory loop, nudging you toward something unresolved. That nightmare, it's your shadow knocking on the door, asking to be integrated. That flying dream, that's your spirit remembering its freedom. The clues have always been there, and now you're beginning to see them. You felt it before. That strange moment right before waking, when time bends and something from the other side tries to follow you home. A word, a symbol, a feeling so vivid it lingers in your chest, pulsing like an echo from another world. That moment isn't random. It's a bridge, a whisper from the realm you just left. Because every night as your conscious mind releases its grip, your soul steps through the threshold, not into darkness, but into layers of reality hidden behind the veil of ordinary perception. And these layers, they're not just symbolic. They're structured, designed, alive. In the first layer, you drift through echoes of your own psyche, thoughts and memories coalescing into dreamscapes mirroring your inner world. But deeper still, beyond the fog of surface dreams, you enter shared space, the collective field, where the boundaries between your soul and others begin to dissolve. And here, time no longer functions the way it does in waking life. A single moment can feel like hours. A conversation can last a lifetime. You may even meet someone who feels more real than anyone you've ever known, because they are. Some call them guides, others call them ancestors, and some are future versions of you reaching back through time to remind you of the path you came here to walk. In these realms, language is different. It doesn't always speak in words, it speaks in symbols. Water becomes emotion. Keys become opportunities. Houses become representations of your inner state. And every symbol, every strange twist in your dreams carries meaning, a message encrypted by your soul for your awakening. They told you dreams are nonsense, but that was never true. Dreams are your soul's language. They are how your higher self tries to speak when your ego is finally quiet. When you learn to read them, they become your greatest teacher. They show you what's buried, what you've denied, what you're becoming. And if you ignore them, they only get louder until they bleed into your waking life as patterns, challenges you can't explain. There's a reason certain dreams follow you, a reason some feel like warnings and others feel like home. You've been there before. You've seen it all before. Because consciousness is not linear, and sleep is not an escape. It's a return to a deeper intelligence, a divine intelligence that speaks to you not with logic, but with resonance. Do you know why you sometimes wake up exhausted even after a full night's sleep? It's not because you didn't rest. It's because you've been working, traveling, processing. Some nights you're healing generations of pain, other nights you're retrieving lost parts of yourself. And there are nights where you've gone so far, so deep into the ether, that when you wake up, the veil takes time to close again. You can feel it in the fog, in the heaviness, in the quiet grief of leaving something behind. But what if you didn't have to forget? What if you could train yourself to remember? You can, and that's what they fear most, a fully conscious dreamer, a soul who remembers where they go, a mind that cannot be fooled. Because when you remember your night journeys, you begin to see the patterns behind the scenes, you begin to recognize the architecture of your life, and you realize it was never random. The ancient mystery schools trained their initiates in dream work before anything else. Because to command your waking reality, you must first learn to navigate the unseen. You must reclaim the lost language of soul travel, and you must come face to face with the truth that death is not the end. It's a continuation of the same nightly path you've been walking your entire life. They knew this, the Egyptians, the Tibetans, the Mayans. Their sacred texts didn't just talk about gods and rituals, they contained detailed instructions for navigating the dreamscape, for mastering the thresholds between worlds, for preparing the soul to detach from form. Because to them, sleep was not unconsciousness, it was training. Each night you practice the great release, you let go of the body, you surrender control. And what comes next? That drift, that expansion, that journey, that is a mirror of what happens when you die. So why do we fear death? Because we've been taught to forget what we already know. Because we've stopped honoring sleep as the spiritual experience that it is. And because, in the forgetting, we've lost touch with the most powerful part of ourselves, the part that cannot be controlled, measured, or caged. But you can reclaim it. When you begin to enter sleep with intention, everything changes. The dreams become clearer, the message is sharper, you start to feel the shift as it happens, the gentle pull, the moment your soul loosens its grip on the physical. And with practice, you can begin to travel consciously. This is not fantasy. This is your birthright. Lucid dreaming, astral projection, remote viewing, these aren't New Age gimmicks, they are the ancient arts of soul travel. And you've already done them, every night. You just didn't know it, because no one ever told you the truth. But you're hearing it now, and somewhere inside something is stirring, a remembering, a recognition not just of the places you've gone, but of who you really are when you are there. Because you are not the character you play in this life. You are not your job, your past, your appearance, or even your name. You are the one who watches the dream. You are the awareness behind the story, the eternal traveler, and in the space between breaths, between thoughts, between dimensions, you are free. So the next time you close your eyes, do it with reverence. Whisper to your soul, ask it to show you. Set the intention not just to rest, but to remember, to travel consciously, to reclaim what was hidden, because you were never meant to be a passive sleeper. You were meant to be a conscious voyager, and every night the doorway open. When you understand the truth about sleep, even the act of closing your eyes becomes sacred. It's no longer just about ending a day. It's about beginning a journey where the limits of your physical senses no longer apply, where you don't just observe reality, you shape it. Because when the conscious mind lets go, the soul steps forward, and the soul remembers its language. The soul doesn't think in words, it speaks in symbols, in vibration, in light. And in that space beyond waking thought, you begin to access the memories not just of this life but of lives layered underneath it. You remember paths you've walked long before this identity was born, contracts you've made, lessons you chose, and sometimes truths you were not yet ready to see, until now. This is why so many people fear their dreams, because deep down they know the dreams aren't lying. The dreams are revealing. Dreams show you who you are beneath the performance. They show you what you've buried. And sometimes they scream when you won't listen. Nightmares, visions, repeated symbols. They're not there to torment you. They're reflections of your unhealed parts asking to be seen, begging to be integrated. And when you start listening to them instead of fearing them, you begin to wake up. You begin to recognize that each night you're being invited, not just into rest, but into revelation, into an experience far more intelligent than most ever realize. Your dreams are not mistakes, they are messages, and the more you pay attention, the clearer they become. You begin to notice how your dreams shift based on your energy, how they respond to your thoughts, your emotions, your intentions, because the dream world is made of consciousness, pure, responsive, living consciousness, and you are its creator, its observer, and its participant all at once. Imagine standing in a world where your thoughts become form, where your fear might appear as a dark figure, your love as radiant light, your questions as labyrinths you must navigate to find your own truth. This is not fantasy. This is the architecture of the astral, and you've been there more times than you can count. But they taught you to forget, to reduce your dreams to nothing more than subconscious chatter, because a person who understands their dream life is a person who starts to question their waking one. And when you begin to question your waking life, you start to see the cracks in the illusion. You see how deeply programmed you've been to conform, to obey, to never ask what lies beyond the veil. But your dreams, they don't follow the rules of this world. They show you freedom. They show you power. They show you that reality isn't something fixed. It's something fluid, something shaped by your state of consciousness. This is why lucid dreaming is so powerful, because it's not just about controlling the dream, it's about reclaiming your awareness in the most intimate way possible. When you become lucid, you are no longer a character being pushed around by a storyline. You become the creator, the witness, the sovereign force. And the moment you realize you're dreaming, something incredible happens. You stop running from your fears. You stopped being a victim of the narrative. You look around and realize, this is my creation. This is my realm. I can explore. I can ask questions. I can heal. I can fly. Do you understand how rare and sacred that is? There are monks who dedicate decades of their lives to mastering that state. Yogis who map entire spiritual systems around dream control. And yet, you, right now, have the same doorway within you, every single night. You don't need a monastery. You don't need a teacher in the Himalayas. You need remembrance. You need to trust that your soul already knows how to travel. The practices are simple. You set intentions before sleep. You speak to your higher self as if it's listening, because it is. You keep a dream journal beside your bed and write down whatever fragments you recall, no matter how strange or small. Over time, your subconscious realizes you're paying attention, and the veil begins to lift. You'll start to notice patterns, repeating locations, recurring themes, a city you keep visiting but can't quite name, a room that always leads to a different memory, a teacher who shows up only when you need guidance. These aren't coincidences. They're part of your soul's internal map. And the more you follow them, the more awakened you become. And that's the real secret. It's not just about dreaming more clearly, it's about waking up fully, not just in sleep, but in life. Because once you realize that your consciousness travels every night, you start to ask, where else can it go? What else am I not being told? And then the illusion starts to crack. You see how this physical world, this material plane, is just one layer of many. That your waking life is not the full truth, but a sliver of a much vaster existence. You see how death is not the end. It's a continuation, a deeper sleep, or perhaps the truest awakening of all. The ancient mystics weren't afraid of death, because they died every night. They practiced it, they trained for it, and in doing so they lived without fear. That's the gift sleep was always meant to give you, not just rest, but resurrection. To know that you are not your body, that you are not confined to flesh or bone or breath, that you are the same awareness that watches the stars in the dream sky, that you are the same presence that flies without wings and speaks without sound, that you are not bound by anything except your own forgetting, but that forgetting is ending, right now. Because even hearing these words is a form of remembering, Your soul knows this truth. It's why you've always felt something strange about sleep, why you've had dreams that haunted you for years, why you've felt certain things in your body that didn't make sense. Vibrations, float sensations, jolts of energy as you fall asleep. That's your astral body preparing to move. That's your soul stretching its wings, and it's time you let it fly. There's a reason ancient cultures protected this knowledge, a reason the great temples of Egypt, the monasteries of Tibet, the sacred texts hidden beneath centuries of dust, all speak of sleep not as rest but as passage. They knew something modern science still refuses to acknowledge, that you are more than a body, more than a brain. You are a multidimensional being, slipping between realities with every sunset. And the most powerful truth? You've been doing it your whole life. Every time your eyes close, your inner vision opens, and in that space, the laws of this world don't apply. Gravity doesn't hold you, time doesn't bind you, identity begins to blur. Because you're no longer the name you were given or the story you've repeated, you are essence, conscious awareness, the dreamer, and when you truly understand this, something inside you begins to change. You stop fearing what lies beyond the veil. You stop clinging so tightly to this one version of reality, and you begin to walk through life with a quiet kind of power, because you've seen what exists beyond it. Sleep is not the opposite of life. It is the mirror of it. What you encounter in dreams is not fiction, it's reflection. And often it is more honest than the waking world, because there your soul speaks freely. It reveals truths that daylight hides. It shows you wounds you've forgotten, desires you've buried, and strengths you didn't know you had. Sometimes it speaks in riddles, other times in emotions so raw you wake up crying without knowing why, but always it speaks to bring you home to yourself. And this is why remembering your dreams matters. Because every unremembered dream is like a message you never opened, a revelation you never received. Your higher self sends these messages with care, night after night, waiting for the day you finally start paying attention. And when you do, you begin to live differently. You move through your days more deliberately. You notice synchronicities. You catch the signs. The waking world starts to reflect your inner world, and the boundaries between sleep and life begin to dissolve. This is not accidental, it's evolution. The mystics call this process spiritual integration. When your dream self and your waking self begin to align, when your choices become clearer, your intuition sharper, and you no longer need to search for truth in books or teachers, because you've remembered where it really lives, inside you. You start to understand that reality isn't something you experience, it's something you co-create. Your energy shapes it, your thoughts ripple through it, your beliefs bend its structure, and just like in your dreams, what you hold in your mind begins to appear before you. It's not magic, it's alignment. The same alignment that happens when you become lucid in a dream and suddenly realize you can shape the sky, fly without wings, or walk through walls. That same power exists here, now. The only difference is how deeply you're willing to believe. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you set an intention before sleep? When was the last time you asked your higher self to show you something, to guide you, to reveal what your ego won't? You don't need incense. You don't need rituals. You just need sincerity. You need to speak to yourself like someone who matters, because you do. Your soul is listening, always, and the more you speak, the louder its voice becomes. Starts with a whisper. Something simple. Tonight I remember. Tonight I return. Tonight I awaken within the dream. Speak it, feel it, and let your body become the temple, because your sleep is sacred. It's not a pause in your story. It is the chapter where the divine speaks directly to you. And there's something else you need to understand. Not all the dreams you have are yours. Some of them are collective, some are ancestral, some are fragments of other lives bleeding through time. Have you ever woken up with emotions that didn't feel like yours? A deep sorrow, a sudden panic, an overwhelming love for someone you've never met? That's not imagination, that's soul memory. Because your consciousness is not confined to one timeline, it is infinite, spread across lifetimes, dimensions, possibilities, and in sleep you slip between them, sometimes as a visitor, sometimes as a witness, and sometimes as the very soul who needs healing. This is why dream work is not just personal, it's cosmic. Every dream you remember, every symbol you decode, every emotion you allow yourself to feel becomes a thread woven back into the grand tapestry of who you truly are. And that tapestry is vast. In one night you might traverse the astral plane, cross into a past life, visit the soul of someone who's gone, or receive a vision of something that hasn't happened yet. These are not hallucinations, they're transmissions, and you are the receiver, but only if you choose to listen. There is a shift happening in the world right now. More and more people are waking up not just in the day but in the night. They're remembering their dreams. They're seeing through the illusion. They're realizing that consciousness cannot be contained in a body, a culture, a belief system. You are part of that wave. You didn't stumble on this by accident. You were drawn here by something older than time, the same force that guides you every night, even when you forget it's there. And that force wants one thing, for you to remember. Because when you remember, you are free. Free from the illusion of separation, free from the fear of death, free from the belief that you are small, powerless, temporary. You are none of those things. You are the eternal traveler, the dreamer of worlds, the seer of symbols. And once you reclaim your nights, you reclaim your soul. So tonight, when the world gets quiet and your eyes begin to close, don't just drift off. Prepare. Breathe with purpose. Set your intention. Invite your higher self to walk with you. Ask for clarity. Ask for healing. Ask to remember. And when you rise tomorrow, write it down. Even if it's fragments, even if it's strange. Those fragments are gold. They are pieces of a larger message. A puzzle only you can solve. Because this is your journey, and you're finally waking up inside it. You've always known there was more. Even when the world told you otherwise, even when textbooks explained sleep in sterile terms and labeled dreams as neurological noise, you knew. Because something inside you never fully believed this was all there is, that this body, this world, these rules, that they were the limits of your existence. And every time you dreamed, you felt it. That subtle remembering, that whisper pulling you somewhere ancient, somewhere sacred. Because it is sacred. The dream realm is not some accidental flicker of the subconscious. It's a holy space, a temple of experience where the soul sheds the costume of identity and returns to its original light. And within that light there are layers, realms, dimensions. Some are soft, peaceful, ethereal. Others are chaotic, dense, strange. But all of them respond to you. They reflect you. And the deeper you go, the more truth you uncover. Some people call these dream worlds illusions, but think about that. Isn't waking life an illusion too? A collection of interpretations filtered through belief, memory, and emotion. The only difference is density. The dream world is fluid, mutable. It changes with your frequency. It adapts to your inner vibration like water mirrors the shape of the cup it's poured into. That's why emotions feel so exaggerated in dreams. Joy feels like flight. Fear becomes a monster. Love glows like sunlight through your chest. Because in the dream, you're not filtering your experience through the conscious mind. You're immersed in it. You are it. And that's where your power begins to awaken. When you stop seeing dreams as passive entertainment and start recognizing them as metaphysical maps of your own energy. Every dream is an energetic snapshot of where you are, who you are, and what's asking to be seen. That recurring chase scene. It's not random. It's a metaphor for something you're avoiding. That endless hallway, that's your soul showing you where you've trapped yourself. And when you choose to engage, when you choose to meet your fears within the dream instead of running, the entire landscape changes. Because the dream world doesn't lie. It responds to courage. It responds to presence. The moment you face the thing that scares you, the shadow, the figure, the sensation, you begin to reclaim pieces of your power that were locked inside it, and those pieces come back with you, not just as memory, as embodiment, as quiet strength, as intuitive knowing that you didn't have before. This is why some dreams leave you different. You wake up and the world feels softer, slower, more alive. It's not because the world changed. It's because you did. You brought back a piece of your soul that was waiting for you on the other side of fear. That is what integration means. That is what healing truly looks like. The dream world also offers something that's hard to find in the waking world: mirrors that don't lie. You can't pretend in a dream. You can't perform. You can't hide behind your job, your reputation, your routine. Everything you experience is a direct reflection of your inner world. And that level of honesty is uncomfortable, but it's also liberating. Because it means you can't be lied to anymore, not by yourself, not by anyone. And once you stop being lied to, you become dangerous to the system that thrives on your sleepwalking. That's why this knowledge was buried, why dream interpretation was once considered heresy, why ancient dream temples were destroyed, texts burned, and traditions erased. Because sovereign dreamers don't follow orders. They don't blindly obey. They see, they remember. And a soul that remembers its freedom cannot be enslaved. But you're not here to be controlled. You're here to wake up. You're here to reconnect with your highest guidance, the part of you that never sleeps, never forgets, and never doubts who you really are. That part of you has been speaking through your dreams since the beginning, through symbols, through emotion, through the subtle sense that what you just experienced was not just a dream, it was a message. You've had them, the dreams that feel like prophecies, the ones that showed you something days, weeks, even years before it happened, the ones that reintroduced you to someone you hadn't thought of in decades, the ones that brought you face to face with a version of yourself you didn't recognize but felt inexplicably drawn to. These aren't accidents. They're echoes from deeper realms. They're conversations between your soul and your higher self, using the only language that can bypass the noise of logic: experience. And that's why your nightly journey matters. Because the more you tune into this part of yourself, the more alive you become. Not just in sleep, in waking life. You start noticing patterns, you make decisions with more clarity, you trust your gut, not because it's guessing, but because it remembers. You walk through your day with the quiet certainty of someone who knows that this life is one layer of a much greater whole. And slowly the fear begins to fade. The fear of death, the fear of change, the fear of letting go. Because once you've danced through other dimensions, met versions of yourself that transcend space and time, seen loved ones who've passed return to hold you in the dream, how could you possibly believe this is all there is? How could you ever again be convinced that death is an ending? It isn't. It's another doorway, the same kind you cross every night, only more complete. And the more you practice stepping through that door with awareness, the less power fear has over you. Because you've rehearsed it, you've prepared, you've seen what lies beyond the veil, and you know, not believe, know, that you are more than this body, more than this mind, more than this moment. You are a traveler. You are the witness behind the form, the voice beneath the silence, the soul who flies every night and wakes only to forget how vast it truly is. But now you're remembering. And as that remembering deepens, so does your power. So tonight, when the stars emerge and your body begins to slow, don't just sleep. Set an intention. Ask to see what you need to see. Ask to heal what still lingers. Ask to meet your guide, your teacher, your future self. Whatever you seek, ask. Speak it into the stillness, and then let go, knowing that the request has already been heard. Because you are not alone in the dream, you never were. There are others walking with you even now. Some you've met in dreams but can't recall. Some are future versions of yourself, reaching back through time. Some are ancestors, whispering wisdom into your subconscious. And some are not from this world at all. Their energy feels different, lighter, wiser. They appear in forms your mind can understand. Maybe as a stranger offering cryptic advice, or an animal with eyes that hold galaxies. But they are real, and they come when you're ready. You've met them before. In that dream where you were falling and someone caught you. in the one where you were lost in a strange land and someone pointed you to the door. They don't speak with words, they speak with knowing. And even if the dream fades when you wake, the feeling lingers. That strange sense of being seen, guided, protected. You are being guided every night. Every time your body goes still and your awareness slips into that other place, something higher takes your hand. Not to control you, but to remind you, to bring you back to the truth your waking life makes you forget. You are not lost. You're on a path so ancient, so precise, that even your detours are part of the design. Your soul knows where it's going. Your dreams are the breadcrumbs it leaves to help your mind catch up. And yes, sometimes the dreams are strange, disjointed, full of noise and fragments. But even in the chaos there is order. Even in the confusion there is a message. Because dreams don't speak in straight lines. They speak in spirals, in symbols, in emotions that stretch beyond language. You'll find that once you start honoring them, they shift. They become clearer, more vivid. They start to show you more because you're showing up for them. You're paying attention. You're treating your sleep not as an escape, but as a ritual. And sleep is a ritual, one you've practiced every night of your life. And yet for most, it goes unexamined, uncelebrated, treated like a necessary pause in the performance of waking life. But what if the truth is the opposite? What if waking life is the rehearsal and the dream is the main event? There are ancient texts that hint at this, writings so old their authors are forgotten, yet their wisdom remains. They speak of the dreaming, not as fiction, but as the real world, the place where souls commune, where timelines braid together, where truths are felt instead of explained. They say that in the dreaming your true self is free. Free of rules, free of names, free of the masks you wear in the light, and in that freedom you remember your power. Not the power to dominate or acquire, but the power to shape, to heal, to transform. That's why your dreams matter, because they are the training ground for the soul, the classroom of the eternal, where you face what you fear, not to suffer but to understand, where you meet who you've been, not to cling but to integrate, where you glimpse who you're becoming, not to fantasize but to choose, because every night is a choice, every night is an opening. And it's not just about sleep, it's about sovereignty, spiritual sovereignty. The moment you remember that you travel, that you choose, that you create, everything shifts. You begin to take back the terrain of your own mind. You begin to protect your energy not just in the day, but in the sacred hours of night. And when you do, the system begins to lose its grip. Because make no mistake, there is a system that feeds on your forgetfulness, a system that wants you numb, distracted, entertained, and exhausted, one that teaches you to sleep without dreaming and to dream without meaning. But when you remember what sleep really is, a return, a rising, a reunion with the deeper parts of yourself, that system begins to dissolve. You become harder to program, harder to manipulate, because a person who knows where they go at night can no longer be told who they are during the day. You've been programmed to forget, but forgetting is not your nature. Remembering is, and once the remembering begins, it cannot be undone. It starts with one dream, one symbol that lingers, one whisper in the dark that you know wasn't random, then another, and another, until your nights become as vivid as your days, until the two begin to blend, until you stop asking what's real and start asking what's true. Reality bends to truth, and your truth is this. You are a multi-dimensional being, a soul wearing a body like a coat, a traveler moving through time like breath through lungs. Every night you lift from form and return to source, and every morning you bring back a little more of that light, even if you don't know it yet. But now you do know, and that changes everything. Tonight something different will happen, because now you're aware. Now you've seen behind the curtain. You'll feel it, that soft pull as your body drifts, that flutter in your chest as your astral self rises. The space between thoughts will open, and you'll remember Not everything, not all at once, but enough. Enough to know this isn't fantasy. Enough to know that something deep inside you has just awakened, and once awakened it can't go back to sleep. So Larry, rise. Let the ancient part of you take the lead. Let your dream body stretch. Let your higher self guide you. Let the veil grow thin and step through it, not as a wanderer but as a sovereign traveler of the stars. Because you were never just here to live. You were here to remember. And tonight you will. You might start to notice the signs even before you fall asleep. A tingling between your brows. A sensation of lifting just behind your eyes. A sense of watching yourself from somewhere else. That's not your imagination. That's your soul preparing to shift. The layers between dimensions are thinner now. You've pierced the illusion simply by acknowledging it. And now, the gateways are opening. Some of them will look like places you've been before. Familiar homes with unfamiliar rooms. Streets that feel like memories. Cities that seem to shimmer with energy. That familiarity isn't coincidence, it's recognition. Echoes from lives you've lived. Fragments from timelines you've walked. You'll know them by feeling, not logic. You'll walk through them like remembering a song you never learned but somehow already know. Other places will be new, vast, strange, cosmic landscapes where form and sound melt into one, where light becomes thought and thought becomes matter. These are higher realms. You reach them not by effort, but by vibration. They respond to clarity, to intention, to truth. If you arrive carrying fear, the world reflects fear. If you arrive open and aligned, it mirrors back something holy. There are libraries of knowledge here, temples of light, cities built of sound. You might meet beings who don't speak but download understanding directly into you. You might be shown symbols that unlock something dormant in your DNA. You might receive visions, not of what will happen, but of what could if you choose. These visions are offerings, not prophecies. Your free will is always the gatekeeper. And even in the dream world, your choices matter. Because everything is a mirror. And the dreamscape doesn't just respond to your thoughts, it responds to your frequency. The more grounded you are in love, trust, and presence, the more access you have. The more fear, confusion, or doubt you bring in, the more distorted the reflection becomes. That's why the ancient adepts trained in purification before dream work, not because the dream world is dangerous, but because it is sacred, and you don't enter the sacred lightly. But you are learning. You're remembering the rituals you once knew, the breathwork before bed, the clearing of the energy field, the quiet setting of an intention, the simple act of gratitude before crossing over. These are not superstitions, they are door codes. They're frequencies that open specific realms, that tell your guides you're ready to receive, and once that signal is sent, the entire multiverse listens. Not everyone will understand what you're experiencing, that's okay. This path is not for validation, it's for evolution. You're not here to convince others of your truth. You're here to embody it so fully that truth begins to radiate from you like light from a star. You don't need to explain what you're becoming, you just need to become it, and the rest will unfold in divine time. You'll begin to live differently, to see differently. You'll notice when your dreams bleed into the day, not in obvious ways but in subtle winks, a stranger's words echoing a dream conversation, a smell that instantly reminds you of a world you can't name, a feeling of déjà vu so strong it vibrates in your bones. These aren't glitches, they're confirmations, markers on the path of remembering. And there will come a moment, maybe tonight, maybe in the weeks to come, when you wake up inside the dream and know, without a doubt, that you are not the dreamer, you are the one aware of the dream. That moment changes everything. It's not just lucidity, it's liberation. The moment you realize you are not subject to the narrative, you are its author. That realization echoes. It follows you back into waking life. Suddenly, you start questioning things you never questioned before. You stop following scripts. You stop accepting limits. You begin to redesign your days the way you shape your dreams, with intention, with clarity, with power. And in time you see that the only real difference between a dream and waking life is the degree to which you believe it's real. But both are dreams, both are reflections, both are tools for your awakening. And once you master one, you begin to master the other. This is how true transformation begins. It's not about escaping the world, it's about seeing it clearly, waking up inside it, realizing that every challenge, every trigger, every moment of beauty or pain is another dream symbol, inviting you to go deeper, to learn, to choose, to evolve. And the more lucid you become in your own life, the more magical it becomes. Not because the external changes overnight, but because you change. You stop reacting, you start creating. You move from victim to visionary, from sleeper to sovereign, and slowly the life you once felt trapped in becomes the dream you choose to walk wide awake. There will still be shadows, you will still face fear, but now you face it knowing it has no power unless you give it power. You meet the monsters in your dreams and see that they are masks for your wounded parts. You hold them, you heal them, and you integrate them back into your wholeness. You stop running from yourself, and you begin returning to yourself. That's what this entire journey has been about, not reaching some perfect state, not escaping pain, not transcending your humanity, but remembering your divinity. Remembering that you are the dreamer and the dreamed, the actor and the stage, the soul and the stars. And every night, when the world quiets and your eyes grow heavy, you are invited back to that remembrance. You're invited to step beyond the veil, to walk the sacred halls of your own infinite mind, to meet yourself not as the world sees you, but as the universe knows you. And in that meeting, in that moment of pure recognition, something ancient stirs in your chest, something that says, I remember where I came from, I remember who I am, and I will never forget again. The night will be different, not because the stars have shifted or the moon is new, but because you have shifted. Because now you walk toward sleep with your eyes open. You understand what's waiting on the other side isn't just rest, it's revelation. And you no longer cross that threshold unaware. You enter with purpose. This is the return of your sacred memory, the knowing that sleep is the soul's sanctuary and every dream is an invitation home. You've spent lifetimes forgetting this truth, but the forgetting ends here. Now you become the conscious dreamer. Now you begin to use the night for what it was always meant to be, a portal to deeper wisdom, a temple of transformation, a mirror held up to your eternal self. And as you lay your head down, it won't feel like falling asleep, it will feel like stepping out, like lifting off, because that's what it is. You're not sinking into unconsciousness, you're rising into remembrance. And in that rise you will begin to see clearly. You'll see that time bends in the dream, that you are not bound to linear thinking or physical form, that you can visit the past, not to relive it but to heal it, that you can glimpse into the potential futures of your path and decide which one to walk into, that every realm you enter is shaped not by chance but by frequency, by the quality of your presence and the clarity of your heart. And you'll realize that you've done this before, thousands of times, on other nights, in other lives. This isn't the beginning, it's the remembering, the reconnection with the part of you that never stopped dreaming, even when the world told you to forget. And yes, the world will still try to distract you. It will feed you noise and numbness and superficial comfort. It will tell you that dreams are meaningless, that sleep is nothing more than biology, that the mysteries of the universe are beyond your reach. But now you know better. Now you carry the key, and with it the freedom to step beyond illusion, to close your eyes and see more, not less, to drift not into blankness, but into divine communion. Because when the body sleeps, the spirit speaks. It speaks in color, in symbol, in vibration. It shows you where you're blocked, where you're blind, where you're ready. It offers glimpses of truths you've hidden from yourself and flashes of potential you're only beginning to unlock. And if you meet that space with reverence, it opens to you, like a flower opening to the morning light, like the sky parting just enough for you to see the stars beyond the clouds. That's what sleep becomes, a vast horizon, a sacred reunion. a journey not away from who you are, but deeper into it. So as you drift, remind yourself, I am more than this body. I am more than this life. I am a traveler between worlds, and the road beneath me is eternal. I do not fear the unknown, because the unknown is my birthplace. I do not fear sleep, because sleep is my return. Let that become your prayer. Let it become your mantra. Let it hum beneath your breath like a thread of light connecting you to every soul who's ever walked this path of conscious dreaming. You're not alone. You never were. Others are waking up, just like you, and together you form a constellation, a sacred geometry of remembrance spanning lifetimes and lifetimes. You'll start to meet them in dreams, souls you've danced with before, souls who recognize your frequency even if your face is new. They'll help you remember more. They'll walk with you through realms of healing, realms of guidance, realms where the laws of this world no longer apply. And when you return, when you wake up in this world again, you'll carry something back with you, a subtle shift, a spark, a peace that wasn't there before, or maybe a knowing, a clarity, a pull toward a path that once felt distant, but now feels destined. You might not be able to explain it. You won't need to. Truth doesn't require proof. It only requires presence. And that presence will grow stronger every time you close your eyes with intention, every time you whisper to your soul before sleep, every time you listen to your dreams like you would a sacred teaching, because that's exactly what they are. There is no wasted sleep when you dream with awareness, no wasted night when your spirit travels freely. Every breath becomes part of the ritual, every dream a breadcrumb leading you closer to the source, and the more you trust it, the more it reveals. You'll begin to dissolve fear, not because fear disappears, but because you stop identifying with it. You see fear in dreams for what it is, a teacher, not an enemy, a shadow, not a truth. You'll walk toward it instead of running, and when you do, it changes. It softens. It shows you the hurt beneath the roar, and in that moment, you reclaim a piece of yourself that was waiting to come home. This is the healing power of the dream. It doesn't just show you what's wrong. It shows you how to become whole. It brings you the medicine of imagery, of presence, of memory. It reminds you that there's no part of you too far gone to recover, no pain too deep to be transmuted. And all of it happens while the world thinks you're asleep. But you know the truth now. You've seen behind the veil. You've remembered what sleep truly is, and that knowing lives inside you now, glowing, pulsing, expanding. So go. Sleep not as the world taught you, but as your soul always intended. Lay your head down with reverence. Close your eyes with purpose. Breathe like someone crossing into sacred ground. And remember, you are not falling asleep. You are rising into truth. You are returning to the place where stars are born, and you will return bearing light. Because you are not just the dreamer, you are the one who remembers. And this is only the beginning.